I do not represent any Lubavitcher institution. I haven't got the right to speak on behalf of the Lubavitcher movement. I am a private individual who has been struggling for most of his life to elevate himself to a worth to be able to call himself a chassid of the Rebbe, just as his father did before him, and my grandfather did before that. And therefore, the loss that I feel is so great that it is nigh impossible for me to speak. I imagine that Rabbi Feldman invited me to come along here this evening because I'm his father-in-law, and because he knew that if he said that by my presence speaking this evening, the Rebbe's covered may be enhanced, despite the difficulty, I would come along to try to say something. Most of you will not be able to understand, and I haven't got the language or the eloquence to be able to explain to you the feelings that those who regarded themselves as Hasidim of the Rebbe, Areni Kaporas Mishkove, the feelings and the bond that there was between us. And therefore, it will be very difficult for me to tell you exactly how we feel. And I stand in awe, and I'm literally trembling, that when speaking about a person like that, I must be careful with every word that I utter, so that no word should come out of my mouth that, God forbid, will diminish his glory. And I therefore decided that I will not give my own thoughts. I cannot help but speak with my own words and my own tongue. But the thoughts I express, minutely only, of the deep feelings that I and those others who call themselves Hasidim of the Rebbe feel, and I have taken for myself a past historic event which I will compare to this our era. About 1800 years ago, there was a great person in the non-Jewish world, led by the Emperor of Rome, Antoninus, called him Rabbi Yehuda HaNossi, Rabbi Yehuda the Prince, or Rabbi Yehuda the President. His disciples, his Hasidim, his pupils, called him Rabbeinu HaKodesh, the Holy Rebbe. The general public just called him Rebbe. He was the author of the Mishnah that we made as seen before. He lived in Eretz Yisrael. In the latter part of his life, he was very ill. Then on a Friday, an Erev Shabbos came, and he was lying on his deathbed. His disciples and pupils could not accept and did not believe that their Rabbeinu HaKodesh could die. So much so that they cried out, anyone who will say the words that Rabbeinu HaKodesh has died will be pierced with a sword. Until Bar Kapora entered into his room, and when he saw that there was Yetzias Neshama, he came out to the audience outside, he rent his garments, and he said the following words: Mitzukim ve'erelim, the mortal world and the angelic world, Tofsu be'arin HaKodesh, grabbed hold of the holy ark, referring to Rebbe. They had a tug of war. The Govro Yad Erelim Imar, the angelic world overcame mortal men. They tosfu es Aron HaKodesh, and they grabbed hold the holy ark, miyodeinu hamtzukim, from us mortal men. Do you mean to say he is dead? Said the crowd outside. He said, I never said those words. The bond, the love, the awe that we had for the Lubavitcher Rebbe was such that we could not, we were not prepared and still cannot believe that he was taken from us. But Erelim chotfu miyod, they overpowered us. And took him away. And we have no option but to say, Baruch Dayan Hoemes. People come over to me and say, friends, well-intentioned people, Reb Chaim or Rabbi Gutnick, we have to carry on. Darf sich starten. We have to strengthen ourselves. They mean well, but to me, the words are so trite that instead of comforting me, make me uncomfortable. Of course, we will carry on. Of course, we will continue living, but I have the honor of having served a community that most of them are either survivors of the Holocaust or family of survivors of the Holocaust. If they carried on, if they continue to live, if they continue to build, then we will of course also. Life has in it an urgency to want to continue. And of course, I will continue to read because life demands it. I'll put on tefillin, and I'll learn Torah, and I'll continue to work for Yiddishkeit because Judaism demands it. But for us, it's not the same world as it was 30 days ago. Then there was a man, a holy man, who lived in New York and spread his holiness, whether we were conscious of it or not, spread his holiness throughout the world. Then there was a sun that shone upon the world. Today, the sun has darkened. The Baal Shem Tov had a Talmud called Pinchas Koretzer. Pinchas Koretzer had a few sons. Just before he was leaving this world, he called over his sons and he said to them, I want you to respect your oldest brother. Not only because you are mechuyev, you are obliged according to the Torah to respect your older brother just as you are obliged to respect your parents, but because your older brother was born in the time of the Baal Shem Tov. And therefore the aura, the holiness, some of it entered into your oldest brother. You were born after that. Therefore he has a blessing of superiority over you which you haven't got. Our lives cannot be the same. The world to us cannot be the same. And sometimes a thought passes through my mind. How will my little grandchildren, how will they grow up without having the thrill and the pleasure and the holiness of having a Rebbe? And if you think I am being dramatic, I turn once again the life story of Rabbeinu HaKodesh. And they tell us that after he died, can you imagine what was left? There were other Tanoim, Amoraim in his time, great men of stature, fathers and leaders of the Jewish people who have left us an inheritance beyond belief. Yet in his generation, when he's died, these same rabbis cried out, Mishemeis Rebbe Botlo Gdusha mi Yisrael. There weren't holy people then, other than Rebbe? But he was of such stature of holiness that you couldn't compare the Gdusha that existed subsequently to what existed when he was alive. Mishemeis Rebbe Botlo Anova, humility disappeared. Mishemeis Rebbe Botlo Iras Chet, the fear of sin, disappeared. There are Baruch Hashem still tzaddikim left, still Talmidei Chachomim left. The world will never be the same because the physical presence of the Lubavitcher Rebbe has been taken by the angelic world. That is the deep feelings of loss that I and many like me have. And it's only right and proper that we should cry out to Hashem Yisborach, that He should know how we feel. And we cry out from the depths of our hearts, Ein lonu menachem. We have no comfort. Elohim, one is not allowed, or one should not, say things about the dead person which the dead person could not say himself. I think to myself, if we had the schus of listening to him once again, what would he say to us? I don't want to avoid the subject, however controversial it is. And I have been taught that the best lie is the truth. And I want to say a few words about the question of Mashiach. It's been a topic that has created great euphoria amongst the Hasidim of the Rebbe. It has also created sometimes a bit of frenzy. It has brought a lot of criticism and sometimes also a bit of ridicule. For those who ridicule, for those who snicker and laugh, they would snicker and laugh at any part of Judaism probably. Or that Judaism is so weak that one of the fundamental principles is even weaker. But the fact is that even well-intentioned and authorized criticism about the Inyan of Mashiach was based purely on ignorance by those who criticized us. There were three concepts that Lubavitcher spread around the world. One was the belief of Mashiach, his advent, which is a fundamental principle of our faith and which has kept us going since the first Tisha B'Av. The second was the fact that the advent of Mashiach is imminent. And the third, which I never heard from the Rebbe himself, but which Hasidim, by their intense devotion, tried to point out that the Rebbe was Mashiach. It's not a new thing. It's not something that developed now. Here's the story once again of Rabbeinu HaKodesh. And it says here, brings a Gemara in Sanhedrin, that Rabbeinu HaKodesh, in his latter years, had a Talmud called Rav. And Rav said the words, Im Moshiach b'chaim, if Moshiach is a living person, Hu Rabbeinu HaKodesh, he is my teacher, Rabbeinu HaKodesh. Anyone who knows a little bit of Gemara knows that pages in Gemara Sanhedrin tells you of Amoraim who pointed out that their Rebbe was Mashiach. Anyone who knows the history of Hasidism know that Hasidim always pointed the finger at their Rebbe, that he was the Mashiach. And as he says in Sefer Beis Rebbe, it was out of great love and respect and awe that they had for the Rebbes that they felt that the highest compliment they can pay him is to say that he was their Rebbe, that he was their Mashiach. The only thing maybe that we do not find in history is that there was a campaign to spread it to others, to point out to others who were not the particular disciples of that Rebbe, to point out to them or try to influence them that their Rebbe was Mashiach. Nothing has changed. We will cry out, and I hear the Rebbe prompting me to say, tell the Jewish people that everyone has to say the words Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema b'vias HaMashiach. I believe with perfect faith in the coming of Mashiach, ve'af al pi she'yismameah, and even though he tarries in kol zeh, achake lo b'chol yom she'yavai, despite the criticism and the ridicule, Jews must believe in Mashiach. They do believe in Mashiach. It's that belief that has got us through all the Holocausts and the pogroms and the suffering. I don't doubt the Rebbe's words one iota when he said the coming of Mashiach is imminent. I would have liked it to be in his lifetime. If it is not so, the Mashiach will come and the dead will rise from their grave, and all those who came before us will join us in the liberty and the redemption that will come. We do not anymore make a campaign that our Rebbe is Mashiach, whatever our individual feelings and thoughts may be. But we will never drop. We will never give up. The campaign for Mashiach as such, because from the first day that the Lubavitcher Rebbe ascended the throne of becoming the Rebbe, to the last moment of his life, his very being, his essence, his whole aim in life was to bring about the Messianic era, not for any glory for himself or even for his Talmidim and Hasidim, but for the benefit of the Jewish people and the whole of mankind. Because that is, was, and will be the aim of the whole of creation. And if God created a world, it was for the purpose of the Messianic era. And Dvar Hashem Yokum Lo'olam, the words of God are eternal and will be fulfilled. One should never conclude one's words without words of nechama and comfort. We made a siyum on Mishnayos. The last Mishnah is not really found in the old editions of Mishnayos. It was inserted in later years in order that the Mishnayos should finish off with something pleasant. Shas, that we made us see him in Shas, those are not, Talmud Eliyahu is not found in all the editions of Shas. It was inserted later on in order that we should finish off with something of Nechama. And therefore I feel obliged also, even though it is days of mourning, but after every 3 weeks, and after the 9 days, and after a Tisha B'Av, there comes a Shabbos Nachamu. I believe that good days are coming. It is a Hasidic tradition that when a man has finished his life, at the moment of his death, he achieves all those things which he was not able to achieve during his lifetime. Therefore, I believe that the Lubavitcher Rebbe will ascend the throne of heaven and will refuse to enter into Gan Eden until such time as he gets an assurance from the Almighty that redemption is going to be implemented for his people and for humanity. I believe that we have a debt to fulfill. A man like Rabbi Apple stood up, not a Lubavitcher, spoke on behalf of the rabbis of Sydney. Somebody else spoke on behalf of the rabbis in Melbourne. In New York, somebody else speaks on behalf of the rabbinate in New York. Throughout the Jewish world, apart from a small minority, everyone acknowledges the greatness of the work and achievements of the Lubavitcher Rebbe for the Jewish people and for the non-Jewish world. And therefore, I think not only Lubavitch, but every Jewish person who has some care for the future of the Jewish people owes him a debt. We won't fulfill that debt only by weeping and mourning, although we can't help it, that's how we feel. But we have a debt to finish off the work which he so ardently began. And I quote the same words as the author of the history of Rabbeinu HaKodesh writes. Rabbeinu HaKodesh, he says, went up to heaven. But what a heritage he left for the Jewish people. The essence of Torah Sheba'al Peh, which has guided and inspired the Jewish people since the destruction of the temple. And he pleads at the end, please, remove all differences, quarrels, prejudice and hate from among you. Unite together to fulfill his words, to fulfill your needs, to fulfill the desire of humanity. Make this world a godly world. There were many tzaddikim before the Lubavitcher Rebbe. There are tzaddikim after him. They all endeavor to try and elevate the individuals they come in contact to lift them up to heaven. You know what the Lubavitcher Rebbe tried to do? He tried to bring heaven down here on earth. Let us help him. Let his Talmidim, those who are his Hasidim, for a little while, stop concentrating on others and concentrating on themselves. Let there be Shalom amongst Hasidei Chabad. We mentioned before the Siyam HaMishnayos. The first Lubavitcher Rebbe said in the Likutei Torah that Shas begins with Mem and ends with Mem. It begins with a Mem Psucha, an open Mem, and finishes off with the word Shalom, a final Mem. We go through Golus with an open Mem which begins the words Me'emosai. We have questions, we have queries, we have doubts, we have difficulties. That is the price of Golus. But we'll finish off with the word Shalom, peace and harmony, as is the last word in Shas. I say to all of you, let there be Ahavas Yisrael. Love a Jew because he is a Jew, whoever he is and whatever he is, because he's a Ben Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Let there be love amongst the Jewish people, and the rest of humanity will learn from us, and love will spread throughout mankind. Let there be an elevation of values which is taught by our Torah and which was spread around the world by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And then the Almighty will help. I don't know of another generation where Jews have suffered like in the generation that I have lived. The Melchemes Gog Magog was definitely the Holocaust. I don't know of a greater era in Jewish history where there's so many tzaddikim in the world that despite the Holocaust, there are Jews who still say Shema Yisrael, who come to daven, who adhere to their people and to their faith in whatever madrega they find themselves. I don't know of another era where our God Yisrael has worked so hard for the advent of the Messianic era. And therefore I cannot but believe that the Messianic era will come, that the better world will come. We just have to give it the last bit of an injection. And if you have come to do honor to Rebbe by your presence, then go away from here with a decision in your heart to be just a little bit better, a little bit frommer, a little bit more loving than you were before tonight. And then the Almighty will help us. And all those who came before us, Yakitzu v'Irananu Sheichne Ofer, V'gam Adeineinu Moreinu v'Rabbeinu B'Seicham. And together with Klal Yisrael, and together with all mankind, we will reach an era in life where the Almighty will have pity upon us. Mocha Dima Mi'alkul Ponim. He will remove tears from all faces. The Cherpas Amo Yosir Mi'alkul Ha'aretz. May it be fulfilled speedily through our efforts and through our work in our lifetime. His memory, His presence will inspire us to do so. When Rebbe died, I mentioned at the beginning, that they said, whoever says Rebbe is dead will be pierced with a sword. You know who said that? Rabbonim. What sort of a language is that? Somebody states a fact that the Rebbe is dead, they're going to pierce him with a sword. Is that a language for Rabbonim to use? Are they worthy of that? What we're trying to say is, the whole of the essence of the belief of Jewry is that people like the Lubavitcher Rebbe don't die. They disappear physically for a while, but they live on. In you, in community in Melbourne, in community in New York, in communities in Eretz Yisrael. With our help, not only spiritually will it be with us, but physically return to us through the advent of Mashiach Tzidkenu, which will be followed by Tchias HaMesim. May it be because of Mamash.